If we lose Shepard, humanity might well follow.
Then see to it that we don't lose her.
For almost 14 years, I intentionally went out of my way to avoid anything and everything relating to the Mass Effect franchise. I did so in hopes that one day the stars would align and I'd be able to have my own journey through fresh eyes and a blank perspective. Once the release of Mass Effect Legendary Edition was upon us, I knew it was time. Mass Effect 1 really impressed me and was the most memorable single-player experience I've had in a couple of years. To say it had me invested in the future of the trilogy would be a gross understatement. So naturally, I had to see what lied ahead for my Commander Shepard and her team. That leads us here. Although I avoided all details, I was always aware of the acclaim of Mass Effect 2, both from critics and fans alike. The moment I rolled credits on Mass Effect 1, I was eagerly awaiting my chance to experience a game with such a legendary reputation. So what did I think? Did it live up to those expectations? Let's find out. My name is Halen, and this is my review of Mass Effect 2. In any sequel, there is that initial moment of making the player experience a feeling of familiarity. Mass Effect 2 accomplishes that, and rips it away in short order. After a very brief introduction to Miranda and the Elusive Man, and a quick summary as to what happened immediately following the events of the first game, we were back aboard the Normandy SR-1 with Joker and the crew. A feeling of naive comfort overtook me, and I was just happy to be back. What I didn't know was that minutes later, the Normandy SR-1 would be destroyed. All members of the crew and Shepard's squad would be separated or worse, and the storied hero Commander Shepard would be presumed dead. This wasn't at all the type of opening I was expecting. To seemingly take away everything the player had known and worked toward building over the course of Mass Effect 1 was bold, but I applaud them for doing that. They were able to instantly grab the returning player and instill a sense of urgency. Once you have woken up, 2 years have passed, and you were tasked with finding out what happened to you, what happened to your ship, what happened to your team, and you must do that with the looming threat of the Reapers. It was a truly engaging opening that made me not want to put the controller down. Once Commander Shepard is revived and back in action due to the work of those at Cerberus, Mass Effect 2 has an interesting challenge of establishing its footing again after ripping away so much so quickly. How do you once again strike that aforementioned feeling of familiarity? Cerberus and its vast resources bestow upon the player and Commander Shepard something familiar. Something that will provide a massive assist in the fight against the newly introduced collectors. A new and improved recreation of the Normandy, aptly named the Normandy SR-2. A sense of hope rushed to me when that music swelled up and I boarded our new home. It was all that I remembered, but with the addition of some serious upgrades. Though I still had many questions, and I was proceeding with extreme caution, with Miranda, Jacob, Joker, and a newly installed AI called Edie, and a Cerberus-provided ship crew on board, I think I was ready for what laid ahead.
Can we work out a discount?
A discount? I'd name my firstborn after you if you ask.
I thought Mass Effect 1 did a tremendous job of presenting the stakes, gravity, and scope of everything, making the player feel like what they were doing and the decisions they were making mattered. Mass Effect 2 amps that up in a way that is truly impressive. It takes the world established in the first Mass Effect and provides so much more depth to an already fleshed out universe. The word more echoes throughout my mind in relation to the world building on display, as Mass Effect 2 presents more characters, more relationships, more locations, and more dialogue, more lore spread out across the galaxy, simply more for the player to sink their teeth into. Something that I loved was that the impact of your heroics in the first game is felt by so many, and now Commander Shepard is looked at with galactic reverence. From reconnecting with old acquaintances who are stunned but elated to see you alive, to vendors whom you've never met who are willing to give you a discount just for the legendary Commander Shepard to declare that that store is her favorite store in the Citadel. It's very common for a sequel to present the aftermath of an initial game, but it's rare that it's done this well. The universe feels deeper and more alive, and it really feels like you were the one who saved it. Now you have to fight like hell to maintain that safety, because it feels more dangerous than ever.
We've cured the plague. Are you ready to help stop the collectors?
Yes, and expected to be working with Cerberus. Many surprises. Just need to finish up here at the clinic. Won't take long. Meet you at your ship. Looking forward to it.
Speaking of more, perhaps the best example of more within this game is within the squad selection screen. Mass Effect 2 doubles the amount of squad members compared to Mass Effect 1, from 6 to 12. That's a massive leap considering these characters aren't one-note forgettable characters. They are your companions throughout your journey. You will spend more time with your squad members than with any other characters in the game. So the potential for bonds to be formed are prevalent. Each squad mate has their own quest line where you can gain their loyalty and get to know their story on a far more personal level. I'm not exaggerating when I say that I think once fully assembled, this game may have my favorite ensemble in video games. I connected with every character, some deeper than others, but each of them stuck with me. Their stories, their tragedies, their triumphs, all of it is powerful and well written. I explored every optional piece of dialogue within the squad because I wanted to maximize my time and bond with them. The gradual relationships built amongst them may just be Mass Effect 2's greatest strength.
So you'll stop them.
And here I thought it'd be difficult.
You'll get the job done. You always do.
There is always going to be some form of evolution as the series progresses. The most fundamental changes that I had to adjust to with Mass Effect 2 was the changes relating to combat. It was interesting because I assumed with Mass Effect 1 being made in 2007 that the combat would progressively become more modernized. And with Mass Effect 2, there are some steps made toward that. Although most of the changes I didn't feel strongly about one way or the other, I did think they were fascinating coming off what was presented in the first game. There were some noteworthy changes, like going from all weapons having an overheating system to all weapons requiring various forms of ammo. That fundamentally changed how I approached some gunfights. Ammo was plentiful if you managed your surroundings, but there were some encounters where I blanked on that change and ran out of ammo completely in some weapons. Sometimes I would revert to my logics of the first game and try to throw grenades by hitting X and it would reload my gun, a reloading mechanic that wasn't even in Mass Effect 1. Speaking on grenades, they are now linked to Commander Shepard's power wheel, and are not limited by quantity, but the use is now dedicated to a cooldown timer. That alone was another adjustment period for me. A change that was made that I do prefer is that now instead of having a ridiculous inventory full of every version of every gun and piece of equipment that you come across, you can now equip yourself with a full loadout prior to leaving the Normandy. That gives the Normandy even more purpose, but it also adds a certain feeling of gearing up for battle with your team, and having to think a bit more tactically. I will say the moment-to-moment gunplay was improved over the first game. I'm envisioning Mass Effect 3 being them perfecting their style of gameplay. But in Mass Effect 2, some of the systems were radically different from Mass Effect 1, and felt like they were almost in a transitional phase. It ended up feeling more strange than smooth in spots, but all in all the gameplay was still enjoyable. I very much look forward to seeing how it progresses from here.
Preparations got underway as soon as you arrived. The hearing's being held in the Garden Plaza. Good luck.
As I mentioned in my Mass Effect 1 review, I'm playing this in quality mode in my Xbox Series X, as when I was playing this I didn't have a monitor that could take full advantage of performance mode, so I just opted for quality. As a whole, my experience was crisp and smooth with no frame dips, no crashes, and no glitches throughout my entire playthrough of the first and second game, with one exception. To remain as vague as possible, there is a mission where a member of your squad is on trial. When attempting to do this mission and attend the trial, that's where I encountered my first pretty major glitch in my time with the Legendary Edition. When I loaded into the area, the game was behaving like I had already completed the trial even though I hadn't. It had invisible outlines of characters standing where they stand after the trial concludes. I could not interact with anyone, or do anything to progress, so I ended up having to load a previous save and restart the mission entirely to get everything back in working order. Though this was not a huge deal in the grand scheme of things, in the interest of being transparent, I thought it was important to bring that up here. The saying "it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish" is applicable across all forms of entertainment. In some cases it can vary, but generally, the lasting image is the culmination of a journey. It's what everything had been building to. Mass Effect 2 has one of the greatest finales and final missions I've ever played. Throughout the game you form an unbreakable bond and you fight alongside your squad. It wasn't easy, but now here you are. You're not 12 individuals, you're 12 fighting as one, fighting to save everything. No mission has gave me a greater sense of leadership than this one. As Shepard, you know your squad and you know their strengths. It's up to you to make every split-second decision with precision. It's up to you to make sure everyone is where they need to be to make sure the team's operating without flaw. The thing about this mission is, it is by no means guaranteed on who will survive. If someone dies or if someone lives, it feels like it's on you. That heightened sense of responsibility and risk, paired with the collaboration of your squad, with that powerful and epic score setting the tone, it's magic. It's a memorable finale that made me feel so many things all at once. It's something that will stick with me for years to come. To circle back to the question at the top of this review, yes. It certainly did live up to those expectations. Mass Effect 2 is another stellar entry into a franchise that, while I've only recently discovered, has already made great strides to be in the conversation of my all-time favorite. It enriched the galaxy in so many ways and made my connection to these characters in this world grow so much stronger. The changes made to some of the systems relating to combat were a bit jarring. I didn't feel like their vision there was fully realized, but it did not hamper my ability to come away from this game dumbfounded. Dumbfounded as to how it took me so long to experience something this special when it had been right in front of me the entire time. Now here we are, 2 down and 1 to go. If you'll have me, I'd love to bring you along as I complete my review of the Mass Effect trilogy. Thank you so much for watching. Mass Effect 3 is calling to me. I'll see you all soon.